Hello, my name is Kobe Brown.
And I'm Cheri Moulter with the North Carolina History Center on the Civil War, Emancipation, and Reconstruction.
And you're watching Culinary Civil War Tales. Apple pie is a dish we all know and love and declare there's nothing more American than it.
However, did you know that the precursor to our apple pies had their origin in 14th century England and were brought over to America when European colonists settled on the continent?
As time passed, this dessert became uniquely associated with America and was often abundant in colonial era meals.
Fast forward to the Civil War, apple pie was still a prominent dish. There were even recipes for apple pie without apples.
Yes, even without the fundamental ingredient, soldiers longed for something that resembled their cherished dessert from back home.
The substitute version would have been crackers, tartaric acid for iconic sweetness, butter, and nutmeg.
Now we want to share with you a classic apple pie recipe authentic to the Civil War time period, and don't worry, it will have apples. To kick things off, let's start by listing our ingredients. For the apple pie filling, you'll need your favorite baking apples. Today, we're using 7 cups of gala, half a cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg.
For the pie crust, this recipe makes 2, a bottom layer and a top layer, but you can adjust the measurements to make however many you like. Today, you'll need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of sugar, 2 sticks of butter, a smidge of salt, and half a cup of cold water. You might not need all of the water, but you won't need more than that, and it does need to be cold. Let's get started with our pastry dough. First, we're going to incorporate the dry ingredients together. So I've got the flour, and we're going to dump that in. And then we're going to add the sugar and the salt. And if you have any jewelry on that you don't want to get nasty, now's the time to take it off, because we're going to get our hands in this, because we're going to incorporate this together and just kind of mix it up. It doesn't take that long there. And next we're going to add our butter. Now, I went ahead and I sliced up the butter just to make it a little bit easier to work with, but it is still very cold, and that's important. So we're going to dump the butter in, and then we're going to start playing with what will become dough. And we're going to mix it together, just kind of working it in, working everything together until you see pieces that are about the size of peas. You don't do it too long. You don't want the butter to melt completely. So you kind of feel that that butter stays cold, and that's why it's going to be important that your water is cold as well, because you're trying to keep the butter from melting too much. So this process might take you 2 or 3 minutes. Don't be surprised if it takes a couple minutes. You're gonna kind of feel it come together in your hands. Let me show you. Here you go. See how it's kind of got that look to it where they're just little crumbles. They almost look like cooked hamburger crumbles, sort of. Peas is another example that you're going to read about, but that's kind of what it looks like. And at this point, you're ready to start adding your water. And you do not add the water all at once. You add a little bit at a time until it all comes together. And you might not use all of this, but you shouldn't need more. So let's start with that. And you'll see it start to come together. See, it kind of comes together quickly once you add water. Let's see how it's still a little crumbly. Not much, actually. So you'll see, I mean, there's still a good bit of water left. And in this particular instance, with the way this particular batch came together, that was all I needed. So it does vary each time. Each time that I've done this, it's taken a slightly different amount. So just take it slow. If you do happen to put in a little bit too much water, don't panic. Just add a smidge more flour. You can get away with that. And it should come together nicely. You see that it's rolled together pretty well. It's got a pretty smooth texture to it. Kind of silky feeling because of all that butter. And at this point, we're gonna separate this ball into two parts. One will be the top layer, one will be the bottom. And we're gonna put it in the fridge so it can get nice and firm again so that as I roll it out, it'll be easier to work with. So I'm just kind of gonna eyeball this. Let me see how I did. There you go. So at this point, you have your top layer and your bottom layer. You put them in separate Ziploc bags. And we're gonna set those in the fridge for, 15 minutes or so that the butter has a chance to kind of solidify a bit more again. It makes it a little bit easier to work with when we're rolling. And let's go see what Kobe's up to.
All right, so I just finished washing our apples. Now what we want to do is we want to peel them. You're going to grab a peeler and go ahead and remove the skin off of your apple. Now you can take your time peeling these apples. For some it might be faster, for some it might be slower, and that's fine. You want to make sure you take safety into consideration. These peelers can be sharp, so it's okay to take your time and really focus on what you're doing. Now see the top and the bottom, there's some skin remaining. What you want to do is you want to put the apple down like this and sort of cut the top off, removing the remaining skin and the stem that's still connected to the apple. You want to turn around, do it to the bottom as well, removing the stem and the remaining skin. Perfect. Now that your apple is fully peeled and cut, you want to make sure it's cut in half like this. You want to place both sides on its face like that. Cut it once more. And now we can focus on removing the heart of the apple by cutting down the core just like this. The core tends to be the hardest part of the apple. It can be rather unpleasant if you leave it in your apple pie, so we want to try and remove it just like that. Do the same with the remaining two pieces right here. Perfect. Perfect. Get these two seeds off. Now that your apple quarters are ready, you're going to go and slice them into fairly thin slices. Just like that. Now today we're using Gala apples, but if you prefer Granny Smith or red apples, that is fine. This recipe is flexible when it comes to choosing your apples. So, all right, now that we've cut our apple into slices, you want to place the slices into this measuring cup we have prepared right here. And we're going to go ahead and cut the rest of our apples, and we're going to go ahead and measure 7 cups. All right, so we just finished slicing our apples. Now we want to focus on making our apple pie filling. So what we're going to do now is we're going to place our 7 cups of apples into this bowl we have prepared right here. There we go. Next, you want to add your dry ingredients, including your sugar. Make sure you sprinkle it all on top of your apples, like that. Next, your cinnamon, do the same thing. Sort of sprinkle it across all your apples Perfect. Do the same thing with your nutmeg. And finally, and make sure this is last, your flour. All right. Smells amazing. What you want to do now is you want to mix everything together. So we have a spoon and we're going to go ahead and mix everything. Make sure you want to incorporate all your dry ingredients into your apples. A lot of the times when you're dealing with dry ingredients, it tends to sort of seep all the way down to the bottom of the bowl. You want to make sure you go down into the bottom and scoop it up to the surface and incorporate it, everything together in a circular motion. Just make sure you mix everything together. And this smells absolutely amazing. All right, I think we reached a good stopping point in mixing our apple pie filling. This smells and looks absolutely amazing. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what Cheri's up to right now.
Thank you, Kobe. Well, now it's time to get started with our dough. And we've got our oven preheating at 375 while we're going to be working with this. So first we need to prepare the area. And to do that, we're going to put some flour down and make sure that it doesn't stick to the surface. And then you also need to make sure to have a little bit of flour on your rolling pin so it doesn't stick to your rolling pin. Let's get the dough out. It's definitely gotten firm in the fridge. The goal is to get it nice and thin for that bottom layer of your pie. You don't want it to be too thick. That looks pretty good. So we'll get it started from there. Might get a little dirty with this, but as my grandmother used to say, the best kitchens were messy kitchens. So, but there we go. See? And that way you're creating a circle that we're going to put over the pie plate. And I think that might be pretty good. You want to take an edge and kind of roll it up over your rolling pin. Now, because this kind of has the sprayed stuff happening over here, I'm going to start with this end because it's kind of nicer and neater to work with. Kind of lifting it up over your rolling pin and then gently guiding it over the pin. And then I'm going to bring the pie plate over. And we're going to put this on here and hope for the best. Then we're going to shape it. And like I said, don't panic if some of it moves a little bit. So now that we have the crust in, we're going to take those apples that Kobe has prepared. So we're going to take those apples, and they smell great. And you get all of that goodness in this pie plate. So we've got the apples in, and they look great. Now I'm going to go get that other bit of dough so I can do the top. Okay, need to put a little bit more flour down because you don't want this to stick. And then we do it again. Again, you just start in the center and work it out. And then we're gonna probably start from that edge this time because it looks like it has the straighter side. So you just kind of go and you loosen it up a little bit because you want the first time you pull it to be the only time you pull it. And then you kind of lay the pin down gently. You're not pressing down right now, but just gently. And see how it just pulls away. And then once you've got that, you can lift it up and you do the switcheroo. And you bring your pie down and you roll your crust right on over. Once you get your top layer crust on, you're gonna take a fork and go around to press the two parts of dough together and kind of create your crust. And then we're going to take a knife and go around the edges. And then you want to make sure to poke holes in the top of your pie to allow steam to escape. And I'm just going to do 4 in the center-ish, kind of eyeballing it. So now that we have our pie ready to go into the oven, we need to cover it with some foil, and then we're going to bake it at 375 for 25 minutes. So this just needs to be loosely covered, and now the pie is ready to go in the oven. It's been 35 minutes in the oven uncovered. You remember we put it in with foil. It cooked for 25 minutes, and I came in here and I took that foil off, set the timer again for 35, and it is now golden brown and delicious looking. So it smells great. There it is. All right, now we're gonna slice the pie. And that first slice might not come out pretty, but that doesn't affect how it tastes. Now let's see how this comes out.
Wow, thank you so much. Now before we dig in, I want to show you this apple pie filling. So golden brown, amazing. That's what you're looking for. And you could really smell that cinnamon nutmeg combination. I can't wait to take a bite out of this. Look at that. Outstanding. I'm so excited.
It did get a little crumbly, but like I said, that doesn't affect the taste.
Totally fine. It doesn't matter to me. Now, Cheri, are you ready to try this?
Yes, absolutely.
3, 2, 1.
It's hot. Definitely hot.
Great though.
It's good.
Now that was delicious.
Thank you so much for tagging along with us today.
We hope you enjoyed this take on an American classic, apple pie, and learning about its impact on American and North Carolinian history.
We greatly appreciate your support. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more content like this.
And we'll see you next time on the Culinary Civil War Tales. Thank you.
Thank you.